So the video might look a little different today because I'm filming on a different camera, and that is because I have my EOS R on my hands right now, and this is my third video on the Canon EOS R if you haven't been following me for a while. And this camera has been out for about a year now, and Canon just released their 1.4.0 firmware update just last week, and you can download it from their website now. When camera companies release their firmware updates on their cameras, it's usually for small bug fixes or incremental improvements on their performances. So they might say things have gotten massively better, but as a user, it's very hard to feel the difference when you're actually using the camera. And Canon's been pretty diligent about updating this camera, and this is the fourth firmware update this year, I believe. And overall, the camera has become a lot more stable, and I don't get any of the lockups that I've been experiencing earlier this year. And with things like continuous shooting or autofocus, the camera now just performs a lot more like how it was supposed to from the launch. But with this newest update, they were making a pretty big deal out of it, and a lot of people were raving about it. And some were even claiming that this makes the camera as good as any Sony cameras. I don't have any Sony cameras, so I can't really test that. But so far, I must say, I'm extremely pleased. So the main upgrade was on the face and eye detection and the autofocus performance, because on the previous updates, when they added the eye autofocus worked fine, but only up to about maybe 5 or 6 feet away from the subject. And even the face detection, it worked okay, but when you were further away from the subject, it would just kind of randomly pop up or disappear, so you couldn't really rely on it. And because I wasn't relying on it, because I was just doing it manually anyway, it did not really affect the way I shot portraits. But with this update though, I noticed the difference right away. Just this last weekend, I was shooting with my model Jerry, and the camera found his face and his eyes every single time. I mean, you know, it's not magic. You still have to point the camera to the right direction and get everything else correct. But I was basically shooting like this. I would just point the camera to his face and let the camera find his face or his eyes, and just spray, and then change positions, and then shoot again, and then change position, shoot again. I wasn't really paying attention to what the camera was doing. I was just taking as many photos as possible just so I can have more options. I was shooting with my 35 1.4, the first generation lens, and I can't find it right now, but the 85 1.2, the EF mount lens. And you know, these lenses are not the fastest autofocus lenses, but I shot about 400 photos that day, and I could not find a single photo that was out of focus. I mean, that's really something. I mean, just the fact that the camera could perform like that with these old lenses, I don't know what they can even do with the RF mount lenses. So until now, although I really like this camera, I was a bit hesitant to recommend it to other people. But with this newest update, I think Canon has basically eliminated my doubts completely. And also, I don't know if this had anything to do with the newest firmware update, but right now I have 484 shots on this SD card, and it says the battery is at 89%. I mean, that's even more than I could shoot with a full battery on the EOS RP. So that's obviously a good thing. And because this camera has been out for about a year now, you can find a lot of good deals out there. The launch price of this camera was, I believe, $2,300. You can get a brand new or a used one for anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000. So the way this camera performs now, I think it's a very, very good deal. I think this camera now performs as good as or better than what a lot of people expected at launch. And I think it's a much easier camera for me to recommend to other people now. But of course, there are things you cannot fix with firmware updates. The camera still has a single card slot, and it does not have internal stabilization. But apart from the single card slot, I think I can now clearly say that for a lot of people, this might be the better choice than the 5D Mark IV. So what I'm trying to say is, buy this camera. So that's it for me today. Thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.